Here's an example of what one student did. It's Gotham. We've got the bat signal. We've got a restaurant, a diner, a furniture store, a record store, a clock tower. We got Wayne Industries right here. So here's what the assignment is. You're going to download a Cityscape uh, file, and that is going to be a multi-artboard. So I just hit Command, Option, and 0. So if I were to click Command 0, and I think I've shown you this before, it fits um, the screen in Windows. So that's, I'll shrink down. I'll shrink down a little bit. And while I've got this one selected, if I go to View, Fit, Fit it all in Fit in Window, Fit Artboard on Window, if it's that artboard. That's Command plus 0. If you're on a PC, Control plus 0. But when we go to view, if we go to fit all in window right here, I'm just adding option plus command plus 0. So I'm just sliding my thumb, command and option, and then 0. And that fits all the artboards in the window. And so everything's going to end up on this artboard here, but we're going to build it on each of these boards. And so what you're going to do um, on this one, you have I should say small buildings instead of cityscape here. But we're going to create 10 unique buildings. Um, and so that will be 20 sides because each building is going to have side one, side two, like that, like my cereal box I was just drawing. Okay, so on this one, we're making 4 small buildings. They're in the front and sides of your cityscape. And they'll need things like doors and any street level details. So 4 buildings will go here, and then we're going to have 3 bigger buildings. They'll be behind this small buildings. You'll make those on this page, and then there's 2 big buildings on this page, and then this is our one skyscraper that will be behind them all, and it's going to be the tallest. And so then once we do that, and we get those all in perspective, and just like I showed you on the cereal box and on the perspective stuff, the grid that I've given you here, it's the 2-point perspective grid, but we're not seeing all the way down to where this line would converge with the vanishing point on the horizon line, the eye level. Um, but then we take all of those and we paste them all into this page here, and we'll have to scale them. And remember to hold shift when you scale so that things scale proportionately. And then we'll fit them into this. And then the last thing we'll do is reflect it. And when we reflect it, when I open my layers here, you'll see I've got instructions. You're going to have your artwork here, and you'll pull your instructions up to the top level. It has this gradient that has transparency. You'll reflect once your city's all put together, you group it all, you use O for the reflect tool along this eye level, flip it down, and then make sure that the instructions pull up to the top level here, and then it will, your reflection will kind of vignette out. So that's the file you'll be working on. You'll need to keep, so everything has to be on this page, including the reflection. On this page, you're going to keep the one skyscraper. On this page, you're going to keep the 2 large buildings, the 3 medium buildings, the 4 small buildings. Additionally, to having those in the perspective grid here, I'm going to want you to have them just down here flat. And that's how we're going to start off on this assignment. So back to the assignment. Here's our learning objectives. Effective use of layers, name your layers appropriately. And so I would have on my layers, be organized. It says artwork here, but I would, I probably have a layer that's skyscraper. And I would have a layer above that that's called large buildings. And I'd have a layer above that that are medium buildings. and I'd have a layer above that that is small buildings. And then I would have a layer probably above that that's details or city details. So that's a good organization. Why in that order? Because the small buildings are in the front, and maybe you're going to add some city decorations that would be in front of the small buildings, and then the skyscraper is going to be um, the lowest layer. Then when we're done, we'll pull instructions all the way to the top of that. Um, so that's good file organization. Need to do that. You need to understand the a 2-point perspective grid, and not so much the Adobe Illustrator perspective tool grid, but you need to understand how 2-point perspective grids worked. I've explained it to you a little bit here. We'll um, explore that more. We're going to learn to use a distort tool, a free transform tool. It's the letter E for that tool. You'll use the reflect tool. The letter O is that tool, Mac or PC on either of those. And then we're going to create a light source, just like I did. It was pretty minimal on that Cheerios box I was making. I had a light side and a darker side. Same realm of color. They were both yellow, but one side was darker. So that would be the shadow side. So whatever side your light source is, you got to determine that, and you're going to make the sides of the buildings on that side lighter, and on the other side, they'll be darker. Okay, so here's the required elements. You're going to create 10 buildings. Uh, they're unique overlapping buildings. Um, and I'm going to make an edit right here, I think, because every semester I have to tell, I've only had this assignment for a couple of semesters, but and maybe I already have it, so I'll check. So you're doing 10 overlapping buildings using the shape tools in Illustrator. You're going to create 4 small buildings, 3 medium buildings, 2 tall buildings, 1 skyscraper. The skyscraper should have towers, spire, fire escapes, ladders, water towers, gargoyles, etc. Some decorations to it. The small buildings, like it says on the actual page here, they're going to have, um, like it says right here, uh, they'll need doors, maybe awnings, things that you would have at a street level. Um, this one here, they're a little more generic. They're like apartment buildings or just kind of standard buildings. These ones should have the 2 large buildings. They should have interesting architectural features, tiers, roofing features like antenna, maybe water towers, window variations. Maybe I'll copy and paste that stuff onto the assignment when I'm done talking to this page here so that you don't have an excuse to miss it. So I think I'll add that stuff on these ones here as well. Vary the heights and the widths of the buildings. Don't make them all the same. Color all buildings. They can't be white. Um, Buildings may overlap, but each building must show a right and left side. Okay, I did say what I wanted to there. Um, but I will add this. Do not cover um, a whole side of a building, because I get that every semester. And it's like the one building just comes into the next one. It doesn't look like 2 buildings anymore. Details, door, etc., trim on each side. Add some signage to a few of your buildings. Create a light source, like I've already talked about. Add a background city silhouette, skies, cloud, trees, etc. Reflect the cityscape and the background into the water below, and each page to show appropriate buildings. So you don't get rid of the buildings on the small buildings page, the medium buildings page. They stay there. You copy and paste them over to your composite image, and then they'll still stay there. And so here's the process. You're going to start flat, not in perspective. And so you're not using that perspective grid tool at all on this assignment. I'm just explaining what it was. But we're going to start with buildings. And so I'll say I'm going to start with some building that's like this color here. And I would hit M for the um, rectangle tool, and it won't draw. What's the problem? I've got this pencil with a circle with a line through it. That says I can't draw on that layer. Why? Well, look what layer I'm on. I'm in the instructions layers. So I need to be on the small buildings layer here that I made. Now I can draw. So maybe my small building's gonna be like that. And then maybe I'll say, well, I want to now I'll deselect that and I want to add some windows to it. And um, I'll just tell them to be blue for now. And maybe I want a door as well. Maybe maybe my building has like a storefront like that, and then there's another one like that, and I'll try to match that distance. And then I'll do one more. I'm just holding Option and copying, and I'm going to change this side to go down like that. So now I've got an entry door. And so starting to get a building. And maybe I have a second floor here that has some windows. And so I'll deselect Command Shift A, and maybe I'll add, yeah, maybe I'll make this building a little shorter. I'm gonna just pull this building a little shorter, and maybe I'll want an awning. I could draw that. Um, and I think I'm not going to have a second row of buildings on that building. Then maybe I'll have a little overlap or uh, like that on my building. Um, and maybe I'll want that to be a little lighter like that. So there's the start of the building. And I might put a sign above it here. This is a good place for a sign. So I'll uh, I'll make a sign, or maybe I would put an awning above it, or both. So I'll just put a sign. And this is a point I just faked it, but I've got both of these selected. I could now go to the alignment tools and I'll say align to a key object. The one that's selected the most is going to show up. And I have a little bit of problem here. I'm doing this kind of mint green building, and I've got this light blue, and it's not showing up very much. If you look at your layer panel, see right here, I've got this um, light blue color here. If I double click on the layer, see the layer color here? I can change that. So I'm going to make it be orange. And now um, now my lines that are, I'm setting, when I deselect, it's not orange, but when I select something, it's called the highlight color. And so I'm going to select both of those shapes, and I'm going align to key object. The one that's thick is the key object. I want the building to be the key object. So and I keep, I got the rectangle tool. I need to hit V, wasn't paying attention. I'll tell it that I want that to be the key object. If I click over here, it'll align to the left. I want it to align to the center. It was pretty close already, but then I could put some type on there and make a sign. So there's my building, and probably I'd want to do some gradient in here for my windows. I don't think I have any gradients open here. So, and I'm not going to take the time to do them, but I could just do graphic gradients as well. I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit M, and I'm going to draw a rectangle here. I don't want it to have stroke, and I want it to be a light blue or even a white. And so that could be a way to make some highlights in the building. So I'll do that, and I don't want them to be smaller. I don't want them to overlap the stroke on it either. So I'll do that, and maybe I'll copy that, and I'll make another streak, and I'll make that thinner, and maybe I'll do one more that's kind of in between. I could take all three of these shapes, and I'll use the shear tool. And the shear tool is right by the scale tool. It's right here. And I could click, and then I'll pull, and I could get a little bit of a shear to it. If I hold the shift key, it will it won't distort down like this. So I'll hold shift and pull. And then I'm going to click here again, and I'm going to pull on the bottom side. And there, I kind of have some windows. And then I could just copy those guys over here as well. And I've got streaks on my building. And I probably maybe want to do that with some streaks on the door as well. I'll select these two. And if I pull them down, it's going to be a different angle. So I don't really want to do that. So I would probably scale it and then go from there. I probably crop it using the shape builder tool at this point. Shift M, and then I'd get rid of that part. So I've got and get rid of that part. So there I've got some streaks on my door. I'd want to put like a door handle on that as well. And then I would want to not have the building overlap, but I'm not going to fix that for now. So that's one side of my building, and that's all the details I'm going to do for now, but we can put texture. We can like do some bricks, not have to do every brick. But then, and I'm going to make this easier. I'm just going to make this second layer be the same size. And I'm going to make it be, I decided a darker color. Okay. And so now I've got, and that's going to be white for my sign. Okay. And so I've got the start of a building here. And there, I just copied the stroke here to not cover up the door. I probably put a handle or maybe split door with two handles. What we'll do one side of the building, and then we'll hit O for the reflect tool. I would group it at this point, Command G group or Control G. That's object group right here. And then I would reflect the building, Option, click, and I would click copy. So now I have two sides of the building, but the building's not gonna, this is the front of the building, this is the side of the building. So on the side of the building, I'll ungroup that one, Command Shift G, and I'm not gonna have a door on this side. And maybe I'll only have one window, and I'm not gonna have a sign. And so get rid of that extra stuff there. And then I would select this stuff, and I'll say it's going to be shorter, but not that much shorter. And then maybe I would, you know, center this window in the middle of my piece. And I'd probably want some more details. So that's both sides of the building. And that's where you need to be next week when we meet. All four of those buildings flat like that. And then next dartboard, well, those I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Those buildings should be over here. Then three medium buildings on this page down there, two main buildings, and they can even be they can stick up over this. That's fine, or they can just be off on the side. That's fine. You could put them on the pasteboard as well. So if you if you have them down here, that's fine. But you need to not get rid of those. I would suggest just keeping them down here, and that's what we'll do. And then next week, I'm going to demo how we're going to put them into the, I'll draw a few more buildings, but you get the idea. It's just flat buildings. But it's kind of boring building right now. And also I'm noticing that my perspective, my streaks are going a different way. One more thing I didn't mention, we're going to put a light source on it. So I would say, all right, well, this is going to be the light side of it. And I could double click and say, okay, I'll pick a darker color. And so, um, lighter and then go a darker color. And so that side's going to be more in the shadow. Or what I would probably recommend doing is copy, paste in front, and I'm going to just tell this to be black. There we go. and cover everything. And then I will go to my layers and say, or sorry, to my opacity. I'll tell this to be a lower opacity, like a 30% opacity, and I'll tell it to go multiply blending mode. Um, and so that's like the shadow side of the building. It's making the windows darker, everything darker, because I have this blending mode with opacity. So that's what I would do as well. And then if that's saying my light side is the left side, my shadow side is the right side. So all of them, or you go the other way, whichever way you want, the shadow side and light side, but all your buildings would need to match that. Okay, back to the instructions. Um, so you're going to start flat. That's what I just did. Um, Organize the city view, create a flat side of the building, group the side of the building, reflect the building, make changes to one side to make it look like a real building. They won't have a front on both sides. Incorporate interesting architectural details for the building. So I just made one up out of my head, and it wasn't all that exciting of a building I made. I may want to I may want to go to downtown Riverside and look at some buildings. I may want to look on the internet or um, you know, something like that. And then you're going to create all the buildings for the other pages. So that's really I'm going to say I'm going to make a page right here. I'm not going to underline this. And I'm going to say uh, have all of your uh, flat buildings done by the end uh, by next uh, um, week, I'll say. Okay. And then I'm going to add some more of those asterisks. Okay. And then next week, I'll demo the next part, time for 2-point perspective. And you can read that. It tells you how to do it, but I'm going to demo that next week. So I'm not going to do that. And then the last step is you assemble it all. And then you're going to submit um, a PDF. But you're going to do save a copy. And I've had this happen already this semester, and I don't want it to. Sometimes students will say, "Oh, um, my Illustrator threw my file away." Well, Illustrator will never throw your file away. You might throw your file away, but what happens is students go file save as, and they tell it to be PDF format, and then they say my AI file, my Illustrator file is gone. So I'm going to say right here, do not write over your .ai file. You will need it. Okay. Um, and then I'm going to say m dash save a copy. Okay, and that's what I told you right here, but still people when we're new to software maybe don't pay attention or not sure what we're doing. So right there, and I'm going to make that red too, just to add some emphasis. Save a copy. Then you're going to choose PDF. So when you do file save a copy, choose PDF, and you'll have a PDF, but you'll still have your AI file as well. And it's going to be name, last name, first name, city, month, day, year. And you will submit, because you don't want to write over it, I'm saying. You're going to submit both your Illustrator and your PDF files. So you'll just submit one, then you'll submit another. Okay. And I think I'm going to, like I said, I think I'm going to edit this to, I give you the details on a skyscraper. I'm going to give you the details that you're seeing on these pages here, where it says the kind of details you should have. So anyway, that's where we should be next week. And then I will critique your low poly, and you'll need to make revisions on that as well. I've got some examples of student cities right here, vector cities doing examples. All those examples are always right here towards the top of your canvas. As we scroll down here, examples of student work, and you can see right here, vector cities doing examples. So it's both places. It's just copied here so you don't miss it. And so I'm going to open up a few of those and real quickly go through those. I've got, here's David Ramos's. It's the one we were just looking at. It's Gotham. Um, and then here's Lydia Shoemate. And um, Lydia learned a hard lesson. Lydia wanted to do an Aztec city, which was a pretty cool idea. And so Lydia did this super ornate kind of Aztec motif building. You can see we got a light side and a shadow side, and took so much time doing that that it's like, this is going to take me all semester to do this 1 2 week project. And so I said, Lydia, that's a really fun idea. You don't have time to do that. And so she simplified. But this, if you zoom in on this one, you'll see it's super ornate, but a little too much to do for uh, a 2 week project. So the other buildings got a little more simple. See the reflection underneath on David's. David changed it to a night scene. Notice he's got a cityscape in the background. We got a moon on there. Of course, uh, the bat signal, um, signage, the N in diners burned out. I thought that was funny. And then it's reflected into the water, but David made it all darker. I don't care what time of day it is. And Lydia made hers like an otherworldly place. It's got 2 moons here. And we got some nice clouds and gradients, some stars, very pretty. And we've got 1 2 3 4 small buildings and 1 2 3 medium buildings and one, no, just give us an extra, but oh, I counted that as two, I think. 2 tall buildings, 1 2, and then the skyscraper here. We've got spires coming out of it. Okay, nice piece. Here's Sierra's. Sarah did, here's 4 small buildings, 1 2 3 4. This is too much hidden. I don't see any details on the side of this building. So if you're doing that, don't. You need to slide this over a little bit so we see some detail on this side of the building. I have to have some detail on both sides of the building. No plain sides of buildings. We got 1 2 3 4 small buildings. We got 1 2 3 medium buildings. Lydia did an awning here, some plants. That's nice. Entry door. We've got a fire escape. Initially, Lydia didn't have the left edge of the fire escape. It looked like it was just painted on the building. And so in the critique, I said, give me an edge. The fire escape, they're going to be about 4 feet wide, 3.5 to 4 feet wide. So we would see some depth there. So we need to see that. It's got some fun architectural details, some lattice type of stuff, a more fancy door, and a nice reflection. This is Sierra. Also did a city in the background, tinted back, and some clouds. This cloud's going in front of the spire of the skyscraper. We've got like satellite dishes, like another layer for like the elevators and stuff up above, some antenna. Um, and on David's, I didn't point out, he did a Gaussian blur on the background city. That was kind of a nice effect. And then next, a little simpler. This is Trista. And I like this city, this building. That's a really nice building. Some nice details on the tops of the roof. Um, and it would have been nice to get some organic stuff. But notice on all of these that the horizon line, the eye level right here, uh, all of the buildings are flat when they hit that. So don't come down into the building. I'll talk into the below the horizon line. I'll talk about that next week. Okay, this is Kay, and Kay did Some fun stuff, some really interesting buildings, nice details on the corners on this one. Got some supermarket signage. We got a hospital, a toy store. Kate drew some teddy bears, some planters, um, a, kind of a nice detail on the top detail there. Skyscraper has some spiky details, like the roof on that one. Only thing I'm not liking on this, I said, Kay, this is a facade, um, but probably we need some depth, even if it's just a facade, or we need a, probably better, we need the right side of that building. But Kay never fixed it. So um, it's still here, but I'm, you know, pointing out where Kay kind of should have done more work on that. Because it looks like it's paper thin on that side. Same thing here. We should get some edging on these. And Kay did that a little bit, but not too much. Then we've got Freddie. Freddie did a diner, a fruit stand. That's nice. We got some bananas and oranges. Got a restaurant here, coffee house there, a health center. Got some satellite dishes on top, some nice ornate details there. And this one's fun. Tegan did for her city, some fun architectural details. Um, Inconsistent in the light and dark. All of a sudden, no dark side on that building. But the clock's in perspective. I like that. I can show you how to do that next week. And we've got back to we have light and dark side. And all of a sudden here, probably because Trista moved the building from one side to the other and forgot, this shouldn't be the shadow side. The right side's the shadow side. And also I would need details on that side. And then this one has no light at all. But some fun details, just missing a little bit. And then Trista also included her robot from the robot assignment. So that's fun. So those are Tegan, rather not Trista, Tegan. So those are some examples for that. And what else do I got? I've got a page here, vector city process, and just like I demoed. So I drew this one as well. It's a little nicer than what I drew before. I made a hospital. It's an animal hospital, and I've got like a little dome on the top. I've got some linear gradient smokestacks, some brick detail on the sides. I did just a flat gradient on those for the windows instead of streaks, brick detail around the doors, some handles. And then this side, I flipped it and then, don't have an entrance again. And then I simplified it, but I didn't redraw these details and these details. They were already there from my first side. So you draw one side, you flip it, draw your building, consider light source, group each side separately. And then this part's next week. We're going to copy it onto the grid, and we're going to use the free transform tool to distort it. And so I'll demo that next week. And then you're going to check your perspective, and that's the process. So I'll go over that a little bit more next week. And so here's what I'm saying here, perspective drill built city. These are suggestions under here. That's why they're indented. Draw all buildings flat before copying and distorting. Look at real building architecture for design inspiration. Add dimension to details that should have dimension. They're not wallpaper, like Kay's hospital, like I just pointed out, doesn't have another side to it. And for type in perspective, I'll demo that next week, but either use the shear tool or the outline